thoroughly before we okay them. First item on the agenda is public comments. And I know I might have one from Joe back here. Eric, is that why you're here?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, come on up and talk to us.
So I'm Eric Miller. I got, can you sit down?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, yes.
It's the
hot seat.
It's the hot seat. Had to deal with Susie before, so.
Oh my gosh.
So,
It was traumatic, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I live out here on, I live on Queens Cup. My business is on Redwood. So I go down Glasgow Road every day, have for my whole life. And, so I was going to talk about the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit out there. Seems a little ridiculous to me. We have almost 4 miles of 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is the exact same speed limit we have going through the campus on the north side of town. I know that there's a Osage Avenue intersection is an issue, but if you go up to that stop sign on Osage Avenue and look to the east, that's the visibility issue. I haven't got it done yet, but I was going to take my trimmer out there and trim the grass, and that would make that intersection way safer.
Eric, coming from the south?
From the north, coming from the north, on the paved road, you look off to the left, like,
Because I see somebody has trimmed something out there. Maybe it was Joe.
well, I know like Randy Baird told me he trimmed it last year. But, you know, and we got flashing lights. That's great. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
it's a thing, but
There are flashing lights out there now.
flashing lights and intersection notification, you know, that's great, but why do we have almost 4 miles of 45-mile-an-hour speed limit on a rural 2-lane road that has a, I mean, so I know there's been an accident or two there, but I know at least one of those was a reckless driver. Like speed limit signs don't, you know, help reckless drivers. I had one fender bender on Glasgow Road when I was in high school. Guy didn't use his turning signal. We have a law about that, but that didn't solve the problem either. So I'm not sure. I actually got to talk to a deputy one night coming into town during the fair. It was about midnight. I was going 59 miles an hour on Glasgow Road. And he told me, "Did you see those 45-mile-an-hour speed limit signs?" That, yeah, they're ridiculous. Like, why do we have a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit on this rural road that's relatively safe and low traffic? And, you know, so I've talked to some different people. And nobody's really given me the direct answer on who decided the length of that. Everybody kind of points that somebody else did it, but.
Eric, I will interrupt now. The day we made the motion, it was from Seven Hills to Hickory Hills. That's how I remember. I know it's public comments, so I shouldn't talk, but I don't know why it got extended.
And we can talk about that with the engineer.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mentioned it to the deputy and I said, well, I heard the sheriff was the one that did that. I was like, oh, they wouldn't have done that. That would have been the engineer. And so I don't know, like nobody's taking responsibility here. And I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it looks good on paper, but like I said, I've driven down that road my whole life and never had an accident except one guy not using turning signal. So that's all I got.
Thank you very
So
much.
do we do segue into the engineer?
Do we have any other public comments?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in detail when.
Yeah, I just
we're
thought
there.
I'd bring it to your attention and try to
And
get
we'll
some
talk about
answers.
it
Like,
just a little
We'll
bit.
talk about it in a couple minutes when we get to the engineer section.
Yeah.
So by the way, it was Joe Ledger was the one that set the speed limit
I was
distance.
gonna say, I think it was Joe's fault.
I'll take credit for it, not to blame, the credit.
I'll talk about that.
Anybody else?
No, now we're gonna let the county engineer.
Oh, we gotta do the minutes,
All right, approve the minutes from
July 5th, July 6th. So I now make a motion to approve them.
second. All those in favor? Motion passed. Now we're gonna meet with the county engineer who is so eagerly waiting to answer this question.
Okay, on the Glasgow Road speed limit, the direction that was in the minutes that Bart and I reviewed before we made the decision was the speed limit was to be lowered to 45 miles an hour. The engineer and the sheriff were to consult to determine the limits of where that would be. Bart and I both visited the road. We got on the phone, looked at a map, kind of discussed where we thought it made sense, where there was more density of residential properties on the stretch of road, and where site visibility made it such that people driving would be able to see the speed limit ahead and slow down. The main reason for lowering the speed limit isn't to be a got you kind of thing, but to make people aware that, hey, there's an area here where people are stupid.
Yeah,
And
at that
that's,
intersection.
and, you know, looking at the time, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think the difference between 45 and 55 on that 4 miles of road makes 30 seconds different in travel time to get to Fairfield. I think that's the way the math worked out. It doesn't, it's not, it may feel slower, but it's not that big a time differential.
So it's comparable to driving to the campus out here. That's 45 miles an hour. There's a crosswalk there.
You know, we've got rumble strips on Osage. And looking at the intersection, you have decent sight distance. The issue is people just don't pay attention.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
we can't hit them upside the head every time they come to the intersection. So the only
There's
thing we can do is slow down cross traffic a bit.
A fair amount of grass there in the, at the edge of the right of way.
Yeah.
Like, because I've heard this from the county before. Well, it's the right of way. We can, you know, if the county has the idea they want to work on the ditch, well, at that point, it's the right of way. If there's grass that needs trimmed for visibility, then it's, well, something that's never get done. So
Is
private
that,
citizens are going to go trim the grass.
is that ours to trim?
I think where the tall grass is, Mr. Metcalf's. He does a pretty good job of keeping it down. And there's, if you sit at the intersection and look east, you can't see the road at the bottom of the hill, but you can see a vehicle that's on the road. I don't think visibility's as big an issue there as just people not paying attention.
I drive that every day.
The
Grass is a
issue is
visibility issue.
the fact
So
we said we wanted. So for the record, it was the engineer's office and the sheriff's department that decided how far that road would go,
Yes.
even though we had said Hickory Hills to Seven
We
Hills.
went back through the minutes and the minutes said,
Our minutes aren't. We talk about so much.
I know,
It's gotta be very
that's,
hard.
that's why we did it. If you want to shorten that, we are very capable of doing that.
So we have to put that on the
Yeah,
agenda.
we'll put that on the agenda.
I encourage you to go out and look it over too. in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Are you talking, Eric, are you talking Joe Adams side, the
No,
northwest side?
I'm talking on that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And some of that maybe just over the, out of the right of way, but
Right, right.
I mean, it's not, if it's out of the right of way, it's like,
Okay, we will go look at it.
Okay.
With the engineer driving us.
I'm good.
Thank you.
And the sheriff following, make sure we do 45.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
All right, next thing, last week we went up to Salina
Mhm.
and wandered around
Good question.
the Red Air, Parsons and Anderson properties. I made a map just to
Yeah,
kind of
thank
show you where they were. And something that shows up on the assessor's website is that the 183rd Street, the 183rd Boulevard right of way appears to have been deeded to Anderson's back in the 70s.
Oh,
I've got the booking page on that, so I'll
And can we check that out?
check that out at the recorder's office after the meeting, to see if that is in fact the case. And then on a similar note, up in Abingdon, there is a resident who's encroaching pretty heavily on the county's right of way and the access into the cemetery there. Right now, there's a bunch of equipment and materials stored in what appears to be the county's right of way, as well as looks like some landscaping timbers in the road right of way. We're going to investigate that a little more detail and see about getting that situation remedied. And we got the same thing going on in Glasgow,
Yes.
Trenton Park property, where just to be,
Well, I don't think it's just the property, Dwayne, it's the alley.
he's also encroaching on, he's got the road blocked off.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get Jason at French Reniker to actually survey that, so I know exactly where the lines are. He put a lot of money into sticking that fence up, and before I go rip it out, I want to make sure that it is in fact on the county's property, not ours, and give him the opportunity to relocate it himself.
Okay.
It's probably a
But
good idea.
We had that discussion prior to you guys seeding the alleys to him across the block, and I was under the impression that they were going to take care of that, and that has not happened. Yeah. Had the pre-con for Nutmeg and the chip seal project last week. Manats will be mobilizing down to do the cement stabilization on Nutmeg and work on Larch on the 24th
July.
of July. And Pelling will be moving in to start grade work on the other routes for chip seal that same week. And it should be 3 to 4 weeks to get that buttoned up.
That's good. You can do that before harvest starts. Thank you.
But we want to have it done. We want that chip seal to have heat on it, so it has a chance for the aggregate to seed in before winter, so the snow plows don't push it all into the ditches.
So are you gonna do this like one lane at a time, or how's it gonna work?
Nutmeg's the roads that are getting cement stabilization will be closed. We'll be providing local access.
So it'd be helpful if the media could help share that message, if you two could work together to come up with that.
I'll do that.
And
While they're doing the grading and the chip seal itself, that will be open to traffic under flaggers. Then I will be gone Wednesday and Thursday this week at the county engineers summer meeting. But I will have my phone with me, so
We'll call you.
I'm sure you will. I think that's all I have.
We might need your help with this next item, discussing and consider the resolution to vacate roadways in Salina. I will say that I went out there early in the morning and looked at this, and then I went out the same day with the supervisors and the county engineer. And we looked at the entire thing because we thought that would be best to, that way everybody, the thing that bothered me was that dumpster in the road. Shouldn't have been there. But that being said, it looks like the property that's started the initial ask. The property across the road to the east is 4 lots. Is that correct? Okay. And they are requesting that we close Rabbit down so far. I would say, based on the fact that there are several other folks that own properties, that we can only close Rabbit to the south end of the initial asker's property. In other words, right where the dumpster is.
do we have anybody else here that wants to speak on this?
I know Mr. Parsons had called us on the phone, and this will still allow Mr. Parsons to access his property Yeah.
from 181st. And
From
again,
First.
these are roads that were platted but never have officially become roads, which is why it's complicated.
Mhm.
Well, for the record, Kyle only wanted Rabbit Avenue close to the south end of that first plot.
I know, but
Right.
there were other folks involved, so we thought we'd please everybody at once, but make sure nobody was getting
Right.
the shaft, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's what we're considering.
So I would make a motion.
Questions.
Yes.
If you close that stretch, does that landlock anybody else?
No, it does not.
That's why we want to stop there,
We went over it
Because-
and over it.
because if we
Come in from the east like we did the other day?
Correct.
If we come in from 181st, one property can still have access, but if we close the whole thing, that property won't.
And I know Mr. Parsons expressed some concerns, and this is no disrespect to Mr. Parsons because he's in Arizona, so he hasn't seen it. There are some other issues that probably need to be addressed further south. But that being said, we actually, with the engineer, drove all the way up 181st.
Yeah.
And
I mean, all the way up
right.
into brush.
And the reality of
Scratching
it
his
is
truck.
that the portion immediately south of Kyle's, Mr. Parsons owns, is inaccessible anyway at this point without doing a lot of whatever clearing. So
I'm going to second your motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the table, a second.
You didn't actually make a motion, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I was halfway through.
yeah,
I make a motion that we close Rabbit Avenue from 180th Street till just south or on the property line of the said individual.
Yeah.
Close it or vacate it? Vacate it, vacate it. Therefore, we're giving him access to the 4 lots on the east side of Rabbit Avenue. In other words, right where the dumpster is.
Second.
Motion and a second. Comment.
Do you want to vacate the alleys in that block? To the west or to the east of Rabbit? So right now it shows alleys in there.
Here,
You're talking about
yeah, we might as well include
the
that,
4 lots to the east.
because
you might also consider just vacating all of Rabbit Avenue to 183rd, and then we can convey portions of it to the adjoining property owners. I know that was something Mike had
The
started.
reason
this-
is, if you're here, this
Yes.
is Mr. Parsons.
Mhm,
Here's Anderson,
mhm,
here's Parsons, here's Anderson.
mhm.
I think if we vacate this, that means they can go up and, I don't think we should do that. Not at this time. I think we
So
should.
you're only vacating it
Yeah,
basically
we should
here
just
to
deal with the
here.
first individual.
but what Dwayne's saying is we should also include right here,
Right.
because that's already part of the one property owners.
And that
What
was,
is, this is not,
It's an
that is-
alleyway,
Those are platted as alleys. So
They are platted
technically
as an
those are
alley.
right of way.
so I'm gonna offer a friendly amendment that we include that alleyway to the east.
there's 2 alleyways,
There's north, south, and east.
the north, south, east, west.
Okay, and the other one. And the north, south one down to 180.
so basically everything,
No, the
Here.
north, south would not go to 181st.
Just here,
Well, yeah, because otherwise you're affecting Mr. Parsons.
okay. So just there.
Do you want me to withdraw my amendment?
Well,
Mike?
this is all Redinger, correct? So we are talking about vacating this alley here.
And this one here.
Yes, but Parsons would not be affected necessarily by
No,
this.
because
correct?
Parsons can go here.
He can go here.
Yeah.
So vacating this and vacating this as
Correct.
well.
Correct.
This is this too,
No,
over here on the west, because that would be
Elizabeth, this
difficult.
is the,
That's nothing.
that's just,
Okay.
this is, yeah.
Okay.
There's a platted alley between Redinger and Parsons on that west property.
Okay,
That's
so
what
that
I'm
would,
wondering then.
so that would
gets
mean
more
we would
complicated.
vacate the alley between
To each get.
And then
8
convey
feet
half
more.
to each?
Yes,
I think it's a 16-foot alley.
yeah.
Okay,
Let's make sure Elizabeth gets this because that's the most.
I want to ask a clarification. So if we go clear down to 181st, we stop at the property line and not the middle of 181st because we're not vacating 181st.
No,
I think we need to include that in there.
It's a city, it's platted, it's a city lot, so the houses don't own the center line. Like we do out in the rural areas.
So when you're talking about the alleyway, just south of Kyle's property, between him and Mr. Parsons. You said it's 16 feet.
I think it's 16.
So how's that? He gets 8, split down the middle.
Mhm.
that means he could move his fence.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to come out and look at this?
What's that?
Did you want to look at this?
I think I got the gist of it, what you're
Okay.
saying. That's
Basically,
kind of what we was asking in the
basically,
first place.
you wanted these 4 lots. So we would vacate this to the dumpster,
Yeah,
or else to
that's-
just past the dumpster,
Yeah,
and then vacate this and vacate this.
right, because there is, well, it shows it ways, but it's just one big
Correct.
hayfield.
Correct.
now.
Yeah, with 5 bales hanging out.
4.
We count, oh. Okay, so then you, Mr. Parsons would still have access.
Yep.
Mr. Anderson would still have access.
Yep, and I think Mr. Anderson, didn't he get an easement off of Spruce at 1.2 to have access to his field?
We're here,
There's 183rd,
yeah, we're here today
Believe
to
was
talk
deeded to
about
Parsons,
your
right?
situation,
Okay.
so.
180,
we'll have to update
183rd.
But they all
looks
got
like
access.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's the main
Okay,
thing.
Anderson.
Everybody
not
has access,
Parsons.
Yes.
but this is just closed
Right, right,
for, yeah,
which means you're
That's what
gonna
it
get a
shows.
little more here.
okay,
See if that
And
is
a
in fact what happened.
little more.
Yeah.
Than all of this.
Right.
Okay,
sounds good.
did you get that, Elizabeth?
So right now what I have is closing Rabbit or vacating Rabbit from 180th to this property line right here.
Mhm.
This is the alleyway that runs between Spruce and Rabbit and behind the property there. Vacating the alley north-south here in this property and the alley east-west. The alley east-west of Rabbit to Spruce is going to be going to Redinger.
Mhm.
The alley west, we're gonna split that between Redinger and Parsons.
Correct,
This north-south alley from 80th to 181st is going to be conveyed to Redinger.
correct.
So we'll get that drafted and on your agenda for next.
Okay,
Oh, and there's one little chunk of the alley that goes to the Salina Community Center.
Which one?
That lot, this line community centers. they
Okay.
Get in there 8 feet of.
This
that alley.
here?
Yeah, the half of it.
Okay.
I appreciate your patience because we got to get this right the first time.
Oh, boy.
I don't have anything left to throw, really.
Okay.
All right, we'll work on that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye, motion passed. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, guys.
If we can give us one more week and we'll have it done.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Don't hold your breath.
Discuss and consider signage for Pleasant Plains.
Oh, shucks, that's what else I was spread out.
So basically, Dick still here. Basically, Pleasant Plains has purchased and invested in a very nice sign for their town in
no place to put it.
They need to make sure that where they want to put it is where we say they can put it, and we'd always need to work together. It's a nice sign. Dick, where's the newest site you guys want to put them?
Well, we're down to now the little vacant spot by the county building.
Okay. Where that elevator auger is?
Yeah. But I never got any measurements on Reiner's to right away.
Mhm.
And you suggested this one, and then the city council approved it. See, I can't say one way or another. It has to
Sure.
be the council.
Yeah, the county acquired the property where the county shed sits, plus the two partial lots south of that, back when the road was realigned through Pleasant Plain there. So we have two small lots that we really don't have use for at this time. We may want to expand in the future. So if we're going to place their sign, I think we should find some place towards the south end, southeast end of that property where it's kind of close to the road. And
Well, it ain't very big property, so it ain't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if they'll ever expand, but
It ain't much longer.
on the off hand that Pleasant Plain will be coming up, maybe a casino site. We should probably figure out.
yeah, I just didn't want to center it on there and then have somebody in the future say they want to move, move our yard another 500 feet or 100 feet south.
So clear at the southeast.
Well,
corner.
I don't see a point of, I mean, not in the center, what would be the object there? I mean, if you move, you ain't gonna move over 10 feet anyway, you might say.
Well, that's just, I don't want to limit somebody following me on what they want to do with that property. So, and to me, it makes sense if you had the signs kind of close to the right of way, so it's visible.
But you're talking close to the right of way.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
okay.
I wouldn't stick you back in the corner where nobody.
Oh, I
can see
thought you meant north and south. You said north and south.
Oh, yeah, north, as you go south.
Okay, well, I thought close to,
Yeah, the property sit somewhat as a triangle. The shed sits up here, Pleasant Plain Road kind of goes like this, so we've got property kind of do this, we've got one full lot, there's a little old alley there. So I would suggest somewhere kind of down here as the shed driveway sits here.
yeah.
Or what did you guys have in mind?
Well, now you say close to the road now.
Yeah, so this would be the road.
Yeah,
This is the shed. The field sits down here.
well, this little area there, you're gonna, the middle of it, it ain't very far either way, so,
Yeah, you've only got 60 or 100 feet there that the county has.
yeah. But close to the road now is what, see, we'd want to go as close to the road, but yet we have to stay behind that,
Stay up at the top of the back slope.
well, no, stay away from that. Oh, what is it, that cable running to the ground there? See, that's our biggest problem. There's a cable, what is it?
The electric,
No, it's
or tape there.
internet that you put in last year. But when I cut that to, when they put the basic.
That should be in the right of way. Should be.
Folks, I need to interrupt. We have a public hearing at 9 AM and it's 9
Okay.
AM.
Now, what do we have to do can we go ahead with that or?
She's gonna interrupt us for.
We just need 5 minutes somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought you
She'll
said-
get back to us.
No, sorry, Dick.
Oh, wait.
So we need a public hearing.
So you want a motion to open the public hearing on vacating alleyway within the plat of Lindy found in Polk Township and conveying said alleyway to adjoining property owner.
It was found in Polk Township. We didn't know it was there, but we found it.
So I make a
Focus.
motion. Thank you.
Here, a motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Casino.
So we're going to discuss and consider a resolution on vacating alleyway between the plat of Linby found in Polk Township and conveying all said alleyways to adjoining property owner.
Before we do that, are there any comments from the public?
Just leave who's not going to that one.
Not hearing.
Hearing none,
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
motion closed, second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Very good.
Now we're going to consider and discuss the resolution to do said motion. And I think you all have this in your packets. Elizabeth, do you guys see any issues with this?
No, there are no issues. It's just an alley. It's bifurcating a property and the only adjoining property owner is actually purchasing this property now. So Mr. Congar is going to be purchasing it from the estate. And I believe that there was a deed recorded on Friday, which is why the resolution is going to the new property owner. Conveyance, excuse me.
I would make a motion
We have a resolution. Number 6. All right, here it is.
for the resolution vacating alleyway within the plat of Quimby and Jefferson County and said alley to adjoining property owner. Whereas a request has been made with Jefferson County asking that an alley in the Limby plot be vacated. Said alley is located in the portion of the Limby plat found in the Polk Township. And whereas Jefferson County has determined the platted alleyway located in block 2 of Limby plat further discussed the alley north of Fern Street running north and south between lots 1 and 2 on the east and lots 3 and 4 on the west has no benefit to the public. And whereas Jefferson County understands that this plat has not been used for that purpose and has been grown over, and whereas Jefferson County believes the property will be later better cared for and put to better use if it were owned by the adjacent property owner. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors of Jefferson County, that the board officially vacates the platted alleyway in the Limby plat located in Jefferson County, Polk Township, as allowed by Iowa Code 354.23, that portion of the platted alleyway of Fern Street located in block 2 of the Limby plat running north and south and between lots 1 and 2 on the east and 3 and 4 on the west. Also be it resolved that the Jefferson County hereby conveys ownership for this alley to the adjoining property owners, Andy and Stephanie Kronberg, 1236 Jefferson, Keokuk Street, Ollie, Iowa, 52576.
So given the fact there's no issue with this, I'll make a motion for this resolution.
Second.
Motion approved in a second, therefore passed. Aye. Thank you very much. Moving on, it is,
Go back to Dick.
yes, 9:05. We're back to you. Mr.
And we are. So what do we end up with? Do we get the lot or do we?
We just need to find a spot on the lot to put it. And then write a,
When will
Resolution.
your sign be delivered?
Oh, it's supposed to be 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Of course.
Yeah,
so we've got some
we
time
gotta
yet.
put someplace where we gotta put it down first.
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds like a bathroom.
They gotta, well, they gotta run the base first, well, the 9, call 9 or call 1.
Yeah. In
And
other
then,
words, you gotta make sure that you need a one call. So-
yeah,
And then you're.
then you gotta have a cement guy come in and run the base,
Sure,
and then Whitney will bring you,
sure.
Ken will bring you up.
But, can you work with Mr. Form? I appreciate that.
We'll find a spot to put it.
These are my favorite people.
I don't think we need anything official, do we? Just.
I think
Well,
they-
I think the city would be more comfortable if they had an
Yeah.
official resolution from the. county.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, something, not like our stop sign, we had it for 13 years, and then they said you can't have that.
Right.
Yeah, Yeah.
So this sign ain't gonna be like a stop sign, ain't gonna be,
Yeah.
not move it.
Lee and Dee, they want to be able to put that sign and not have to.
No, I'm perfectly fine with that.
So you want a motion that says it's okay to put the sign on county land on an agreed upon location by the engineer and.
Are you on city council? Are you the mayor
City of
now?
Pleasant Plain?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Well, there you go. He's the who says.
The representative of the city of Pleasant
Yeah.
Plain. How about that?
Okay, I'll be there most of the time.
Okay. All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passed.
We'll get it figured out.
And then,
Thank you.
well, then there'll be a resolution at a later date.
Yes.
We'll have to get
Dick, thank you very much.
Okay. Now, when do you want to approve can I just mark the area and you can look at it? when you
Yeah.
want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
You put it, yeah, I'll get a. See if we can figure out where our property ends. We don't want to slump over on the.
Probably a weed patch there, because Dino Field starts there at the 1. I know that.
My guess is using every ounce of his land, possibly some of the counties. So.
Oh, Dean? No, not Dean. Okay, I'll get it mapped out and then wait for you to okay it.
Very good, sir.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Dick.
Yep.
Discuss, the next item is to discuss and consider the Haney subdivision. What?
I said, oh, I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah, you are. Do you know anything about this?
I know way more than I want to about that.
Okay.
As near as I can tell, somehow they got dropped through the cracks. When Scott was here, I think he had replied to one of their correspondence about needing a minor subdivision required. Needing a minor subdivision. He didn't notify anybody else that he needed a minor subdivision. So they went ahead and I believe they had a deed to the property. So they're deeding part of their property to their children, parents to children. And the heck of it is they've got like 50 acres there, don't quote me exactly. So they want to give an acre and a half to their kids. But there's been so much activity in that section that it requires a minor subdivision. There's nothing sneaky, shady, underhanded. It's just the way our ordinance reads. And at that time, nobody approached the city about it either. So they're within the city's 2-mile jurisdiction. So the city has approved it contingent on them paying the application fee and getting that permit. From our end of it, I don't see how there's any interest of the county of making it difficult on them.
Elizabeth, does your office have any issues with this?
No.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the Haney subdivision as presented to us.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Elizabeth, thank you very much.
Since Steve's here, can we jump down and do this first?
Sure.
I just thought it'd be better to use it this time. Otherwise,
Steve, we're gonna jump down the agenda to you.
Oh,
And knowing that at 9:30 we have another public hearing.
Oh.
so you want to Zoom Mike in? If so, go along with your agenda, we can Zoom it.
What
He
time
needs
is-
to send it,
he's,
send him the link, and he said he could connect in about 10 or 15
Oh,
minutes. So if you
okay,
want to
then we
go
can
on
go
with your
ahead.
schedule, and
It's on our website.
Okay,
I'm not arguing that. That's what he.
he was just conveying.
Yeah, he asked me to send the link.
Okay. Go back to you, Master.
So why don't we go on with, meet with the ambulance director? Knowing that at any minute we could interrupt you because of a public hearing.
We're gonna meet.
Morning, Brian, how are you?
Good morning. How are y'all? I'm good. How's your weekend?
Wonderful.
Good. This morning, we got an email saying our inventory is gonna arrive today, part of, between 9:30 and 1:30. I just talked to Dwayne, he'll let us know, we'll go there and inventory it. I've been working on our state policies for, and should the amended file. I got a couple more I gotta upload. Jacob and I have been talking. So everything's going well. We're just lacking our protocol signature, which we'll get uploaded today. Mutual aid agreement, which we're continuously working on. Our pharmacy agreement, we're meeting with Stacy and Katie this week on the 12th at 1 o'clock.
The Wednesday at 1.
Yes. Currently, I did submit the contracts to A and B and to image trends. And they're working on that as we speak. Currently this week, we've got to meet with Bill today at 11 o'clock to go over a policy specific to the ambulance company or to the ambulance. We're meeting
You're
with
meeting with who? Bill?
Jack.
Okay.
Jack. Meeting with Indian Hills tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss clinical ride-alongs for the college students, things like that.
Who's in charge of the department now?
Lori Reeves.
Okay.
Yeah. And then on 7/13 at 6 o'clock, I have a Zoom meeting with the state. We're doing a workshop. And me and the medical director, it's a Zoom meeting from 6 to 9. And that's scheduled for the 13th. So.
Okay.
Doing good things, getting there.
Thanks for working with Dwayne on that.
I'm sorry,
Thanks for working with Dwayne on that.
absolutely.
Were you able to get all of the inventory that you wanted? I know you said that there might be a backlog on some stuff.
I'm not sure on the back order.
I,
Judy's working on that.
yeah,
on the
I just
back
got
order.
back, but yeah, there's a few things that are on back order. There's a couple things that will probably, as of right now, probably gonna have to go somewhere else and try to find because it could be a month to 2 months out,
Okay,
so.
thank you for your work on that, Judy.
She's been doing a fantastic job with that. I know it's a lot of work, so we've been working on different tasks. So trying to get everything set for the 1st of October.
Mhm.
So we're
Appreciate
well on
that.
our way, no problem.
You're going out. Jack, right?
I am.
Is that all you need?
I think that's all right.
That's good. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider space for ambulance employees during the construction. Now, construction could be anywhere from starting tomorrow and ending the 1st of October.
In a perfect world.
In a perfect world. In a perfect world, it'd be done by September 18th when the employees are gonna start. So we need to have a space for these two folks, and I feel it should be cheap, in other words, free in a county space. I feel it should be, actually, I would love to see you use the office in the basement here. That gives you access to anything in this room. Your copy machine. And again, it would be free. Any
You don't have
comments?
internet.
Internet,
One of the things that I guess concerns me, if we're going to the first deadline, well, then we have crews that need to bed down for September 30th. So we can start answering calls and that goes one day if we get to that deadline.
yeah. Well, how's that affect where you should be for the next couple of months?
Oh, it does,
Okay,
but I'm just talking if we're looking.
sure.
so
We
we're not
understand that.
bouncing
We
around.
We
understand.
have time to figure that one out.
You know, I consider that a work in progress because nobody in this room knows the date that that's going to happen.
That's fair.
We all want it to be tomorrow,
Right.
but in realism, it's not going to be tomorrow.
I have it on good authority, July 30th.
If anybody here believes Lee, it could be July 30th.
Oh, yeah,
Sure, write
Neil,
that
Pleasant
down.
Plain.
I'll make sure to name.
Any more comment? I know Mr. Nolan's waiting for us. Any more comments on this? We could finish this.
The only comment I have is, so I don't know what is in the room now that we've got to move.
Just a second.
Nothing. There's tables in there.
Okay, secondly, are we going to leave those tables then, or are you moving desks? What we do?
I would say if they have to vacate during construction out there, that stuff is going to have to be placed somewhere. But if we've already got tables down here they can use, that might solve that movement of the tables to here and then elsewhere.
Well, we have access to an enclosed trailer, we can, as far as that part goes, restore some of that stuff. That's all I was wondering was what we needed to move to this location.
Well,
I
I think
guess
they'll
they
have
can
to
figure
figure
that
that out.
Yeah.
They will figure that
We
out.
just need to get them the space.
Now, the other question I have, and this is probably one for, is it Doug? Telco, those are phones.
John,
John, and we-
We're gonna figure out what to do about the telephone number. Because right now, the telephone number is assigned to 1900. That's part of-
Okay, what number did you use prior to getting your phone number out there?
My cell phone,
Could we use your cell phone for a couple months?
yes.
Either that or ask John if he can take one of these phones
Yeah.
and wire it downstairs. That
Yes.
wouldn't be that hard.
That's something I contacted him on Friday, I'm just. waiting for his
Yeah,
response.
I think you'll be able to figure
Yeah,
that
I
stuff
think you
out.
guys can figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we have a password from the router in here
Okay.
that maybe you'll be able to get access it down there.
I realize if they start construction this week on any aspect of that, you'll need to, and I know you two can do it. You guys are very Johnny on the spot.
Yes.
And we appreciate that.
No problem.
So you okay
Whatever.
going downstairs?
I'm sorry.
Are you okay with that space downstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'll make a motion that temporary space be the office downstairs.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
now you can call down there and say, hey, bring me up.
Okay,
Kathy, do you have a flight? Okay, I'm gonna get you one. Okay, moving on to that, and Mr. Nolan is on the,
and Steve is here. Come on up, Steve.
we're now going to do, for those listening, we're now going to discuss and consider a contract for building construction for 1900 West Burlington. Fairfield. Morning, Steve. Thanks for coming.
Morning, yeah, thanks for having me. So I guess we need to let Mike kick it off. Can you hear us,
Morning,
Mike?
Yeah, good morning. How's everyone?
Wonderful.
Great. I guess really the conversation this morning is to review Steve's contract to move forward with a guaranteed max price cost plus for the ambulance edition, as we discussed last week. I had a chance to talk with Chauncey and Elizabeth about the contract. There are a few minor things in there, but it sounds like in principle, there weren't any huge issues with it. Sounds like Steve's got some rough numbers put together. He's proposing from our conversation that the guaranteed max price of the work would be around $450. We're going with the contract, and then that would be the cost plus would be 20%. So that's kind of where it lands. So I would say that we're looking at is with the guaranteed max price, you're probably looking at a higher potential number. What he wants to do is hedge that we aren't going to come back and be asking for more and more and more. So kind of setting that cap. So the way that would go in would be $450, and Steve, correct me if I'm saying this properly, would be the cost of the work plus the 20% management fee for your guys. So the potential top end of the contract could be up to $540,000.
That would be correct.
Okay.
When-
No,
And what that's based on is I had put budget numbers together quickly, of course, just had it. But I went to the high side because no one likes it when you come in and they just keep asking for more and more and more. So that's the top side. I think we can do it for less, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you 350,000 and come in at 452 or something like that, because that's all of a sudden and everybody's like, well, missed it by a ton. There's the other question is, I used some of my numbers that are square foot numbers, that are good, but wanting to get them there quicker might cost me a little bit more. So I added on to that. That's how I came up with these numbers. So I got to do something because we have a deadline. I want to get these guys in. And I want to hit that deadline.
And again, the main part of the deadline is the inside part.
Correct. Understood. And so, as we talked last Friday or Thursday, I guess it was, last week.
Yeah.
That we could go ahead and, as soon as it's vacated and the contract's agreed and we get signed, we'll get started. I've got people available. We can start tearing off but I have to start picking electrician, and I got to start picking, plumber, and start working on that. So I can start doing some demo prior to that. So that I can get in, start ordering windows, the egress windows got to get ordered so that they're not a holdup. Make sure all the materials are available. So they're ready. Because biggest thing is not having stuff ordered and having it ready and back order, just like what she said, it happens. So I want to get them out as quick as I can. So the quicker we get a contract, of course, once a contract is signed, I will start working on ordering materials and making a schedule. And, I'll hold it, so. That's what you see, Mike.
Yeah, and I think from what we've discussed just with the time frame is that the reason that we're doing this versus doing a firm fixed price contract is just to have a little bit of buffer. But what it does is buys us the time to get Steve and his guys moving right away. So it just mainly just make sure that there's comfort going up to where the top end of the budget is, if that is where it comes out to meet the time frame and the schedule. As long as that's good, then I think this is our best possibility to get things going for that October 1st date.
And again, just to recap, we only received one bid for the project out of 5 different categories. So we're going an alternate route because of that.
Correct. Yeah, we had previously looked at doing a construction manager with multiple prime contractors, and we just didn't get we didn't get bids for, as you said, 3 or 4 of the 5 packages. We only got one bid for a single package. So essentially, we went through, did our due diligence on that process, and that's just not going to pan out to meet the requirements for the project.
To your question, Deanne, in the contract, at least the one that I'm looking at, the A102, it does talk about the interior renovations and prioritizing that, making sure that that's the priority for the October 1st deadline occupancy.
Good.
I did actually have, Chauncey and I went over it a little bit more thoroughly over the weekend. We just had one potential change. I don't know, just regarding the dispute resolution. I don't know if that's something that you guys would take issue with in requesting arbitration instead of litigation in court.
I'm not having a problem, so I'm
Great.
not worried about it.
Great.
Yeah, really.
I know, of course.
So
You
that's,
want to
I mean,
plan
that's
for the
gonna-
best,
Right, exactly. But
expect the best.
yeah, I signed too many of those. They'll probably have all that kind of stuff in it, but it's,
So is that
should
okay?
do you have any problem with that, Mike?
No, it's totally up to the client's preference. So I would say so since we don't have the finalized contract today, I would say if we could agree in principle to the terms, Elizabeth, if you want to send me what markups and notes you have, we'll make those adjustments, generate a final contract for execution. But from what we talked about, it's all just general preference and technical stuff. So no showstoppers that we've talked about.
I would make a motion to accept the contract in principle. And final draft.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Dimmitt, second by Sandquist. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Mike, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. So as soon as I get that, whatever your notes are back over, I'll get that updated and we'll get that out. So Steve, get to
I
work.
guess my next question is when will that, we can sign that and go? Because is it gonna be next week? Does it have to be Monday? Does it have to be today, tomorrow, or what's?
I would, Go ahead.
Reword the motion
Yeah.
so that
I would just
Chair can
authorize
sign
the
the-
chair to sign
sign the
the
contract.
contract. Doesn't require another meeting.
Of the contract.
Okay,
So
because we talked to, deadlines are, I mean, we're wanting to get you guys in until,
So hopefully this afternoon.
okay. You can make all I can.
Oh, yeah, we've got just minimum
And so that'll,
clarifying questions.
just for clarification, that would give Brian and Judy some hustle time to get out of that building.
Right, well, that was my next question.
So
So I know you guys have stuff in there, so it's not on that tape. What's that?
How soon? Start
Today.
Well, we could start demo as early as Wednesday. Or as early as tomorrow if I knew, but we can go outside, and do some demo, which won't affect what you're doing.
But I want them to have a deadline to be out of there.
I'll make them have a deadline. I just tell you.
Can you be out of there by
I guess on
Wednesday
there
morning?
today or tomorrow, but if I have.
By
contract
Wednesday at
signed.
8 AM?
Sure.
Thank you,
All right.
thank you. And if you need
Okay.
a pickup or something, holler, okay?
So according to this, we'll have that contract available. and-
She's gonna get it.
Yeah.
She's gonna get it to Mike. Mike's gonna draw it up. He'll get it back to you guys. Once you have it, let me know. And I'll come in and sign it. And then we'll get things in motion and get going.
So
Okay.
Steve, you're gonna be the main contractor guy, right? Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
Can you tell me in that kitchen where you talked about we could store some like empty filing cabinets, how much stuff do you want in there or how much stuff do you not want?
I think at the end, we decided nothing because you
No,
said
you take it all out.
you would have to be in there to get things out of there and that's.
No, these were just empty ones that we're not using them.
Okay.
We're not using them for anything. They're just extras that we had brought over.
If you have the filing cabinets, you could probably work with those in that one room.
Okay.
We'll keep them on the north side of that room
If they're empty.
if they're empty.
Yep.
No one can get to them. And if you want to store stuff in them, you'll have to get them out. But as long as they're gonna stay They're empty now, they're gonna stay empty, I'm okay. It's just I can't have the traffic.
Yeah, and I totally understand.
Right,
We just
yeah.
didn't know
Yep.
what else could go in there.
But I need, if the north part of that room, if there's filing cabinets, because if they really got in the way, I can move and shuffle them. I'm not worried about a little bit of, but I'm not gonna move a bunch of boxes.
It is 9:30. We have another public hearing.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Steve.
Motion to open public
Wait
hearing.
here from you.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. All right, in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Shannon, do you want to talk here? This is the fiscal year 2024 county budget amendment hearing. Consider the budget appropriation by service area, consider departmental budget appropriation. Shannon.
You just would want to call for public comments.
Oh, yeah, I know. Any comments? Any public comments? Any public comments? Yes.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close public hearing and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
This is for the ambulance. And you've got a resolution to appropriate by service area first. That is taking the 710,000 out of the board's department from the general basic fund and putting it into the ambulance, putting 600,000 of that into the ambulance department. And then it's moving that $1 million of ARPA money. I'm sorry, did we decide on 1 million or?
Yes.
1 million from the service area 9, which is administration, which is where we had it at budget time, to service area 1, which is the ambulance service area. But that'll still be in your department. And that's for the startup costs.
And we'll still approve those.
Yep. Yep, the $1 million is for the startup costs still out of the ARPA. And then the 600,000 will be in the ambulance department out of general basic.
And this is what we talked about at the meeting.
Yep.
And, where are we? So you need,
This appropriation by service area and then appropriation by department.
okay, I'll make a motion for this budget appropriation by service area as articulated by Shannon.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Shannon, thank you very much for your time.
We have one more to do. Consider department budget appropriation.
Now that we did the department,
Okay.
there's two.
Okey-dokey. It's quicker to build a casino. Right?
Just wait. Next item on our agenda is to discuss the juvenile court services and DCAT funding. If you,
Are we gonna do number 5 first? The-
oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
I'll
fine.
sign that.
Because Mike left.
Here,
Discussing,
sign.
okay. We're gonna discuss, consider,
Mike's along.
I don't think so. The construction completion on courthouse project. You can get him back on.
Oh, yeah.
What do you know, Abby? Anything?
We had an email from him. Before it was on.
It says, following the punch list inspection, the final walkthrough, I recommend acceptance. of Renovations as complete. We appreciate it. Exhibited by Krishna Contracting Inc. So. How much are we still set?
Wasn't it right?
So he's recommending. We do what?
Both of them.
Huh?
Both of them.
Both of them.
So when are these things gonna get fixed, even though they're minor?
I see.
basically what's left, reinstall ceiling tile, grid T, adjust thermostat on water fountain to troubleshoot cycling, return entry walk-off mat, minor leak at lavatory in the women's restroom, investigate and correct. Review clean marks on wall tile by cleaner lavatory, install wall stop at last partition door, men's restroom, review clean marks on wall tile in corner by lavatory, north entry door, install floor stop exterior basic door to limit travel, handle finish, scraping on stone. Boiler room, complete demolition of abandoned plumbing, infill bolt and wall. Install utility sink, I think we should get Dave's opinion on this. Shouldn't we?
Again, what did Mike say?
He said it was fine. I just want to make sure these things are
Amy,
done.
what's your opinion?
What do you say we're sitting on?
15,000.
15,000. This doesn't look like 15,000 worth of work.
No, I don't disagree with you there, but
I hate to pay him all of it and then not have him finish it.
I would make a motion that we what's what we're looking for here. Release $10,000.
Okay, either that or we could do it, we'll pay the full amount when all this gets done. But I'm fine releasing 10,000. How about if we do this? Release 10,000 and pay the balance upon completion of this. Does that work?
You'll have to change your motion.
Is that a friendly amendment?
So where we, how much you want to release?
We'll release 10,000 and pay the balance upon completion of this.
Right, yeah.
Okay, that's a motion.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second. Or whoever.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will release 10,000 to Fisher. With the rest at the end of completion. Next item, I'll now discuss juvenile court services and DCAT funding. The folks, I know, the folks
Welcome.
are here to enlighten us with what's going on.
I don't know, this is such a broad
That's
topic.
a tall
Well,
order.
this is just.
Oh, you've been here all morning, so you know.
Oh, my.
And you realize we've heard from committees, because now I'm on some of the criminal justice ones, is about the merger with DOC and you can enlighten us and tell us.
Yeah, Troy, Tammy, thank you for coming today.
Of course.
I would like to say that we all know if you're a rural county, you're going to get decreased because that seems to be the way it goes. Or we could make a resolution making this Polk County. Okay.
I like that. I like that for all of our programs, if you
Okay.
could
Yeah,
designate
I
us
know.
as Polk
I
County.
know, I know.
So I talked to Tammy when I got this, she sent out this.
Oh, the letter.
Oh, the letter.
Yeah.
And obviously, we all have concerns about the defunding generally. But, and I don't know that there's anything we can do, but I'd like to discuss the possibility of, because what I see here is these are funds that were already appropriated, that were, while maybe not expended, were incorporated into budgets for programs for this next fiscal year. And so the issue is that while I may or may not agree with reviewing funding mechanisms for the next fiscal year, to all of a sudden pull the rug out from underneath us moving in this fiscal year
So how do they
Well,
expect these services to be
Well,
delivered?
let's talk about fiscal year 24. Do you want me to take the lead?
Go right
Okay,
ahead.
so let's
Yes.
talk about fiscal year 24. So let's first, I think sometimes it's helpful to think about DCAT and our funding. So it's very different than the regions, very different than
Correct you for just
UCI.
a second.
Yep.
Connor. This is, I would love to see this all over the news. Okay. Okay.
So let's think about our funding. DCAT's funding is very different than the region's funding, very different than ECI's funding. Region's funding now is coming from the state. ECI's funding comes from 100% from the state. So DCAT's funding comes from carry forward from juvenile court, carry forward from the Department of Health and Human Services, and from a legislative allocation, which there is a legislative allocation for fiscal year 24. We've received a legislative allocation as far back as I can remember, and I've been involved with DCAT since 1997. Not necessarily this cluster, but I've been involved since 1997. Been involved with ECI since 1998. So unlike ECI or the regions where there's a percentage of carry forward, DCAT's money is when it comes in, how many years it's designated has to be spent by then. Juvenile court's money right now is running about 2 fiscal years. So what Troy transferred in May would be considered a fiscal year 23 transfer. Those funds could be used in fiscal year 24, which we're in, or fiscal year 25 next year. We have funds from Troy's transfer from fiscal year 22 that we are going to be using in fiscal year 24 in that final year. Same with HHS same for HHS carry forward. We haven't seen HHS carry forward in 2 fiscal years. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
That's their decision. That's a Matt question. That's not a me or Troy question. Legislative allocation right now has been bumped up to 3 fiscal years. So whatever we get for 24, we can spend in 24, 25, 26 technically. So our carry forward is based on what do we have left, how much time do we have left on it, not a percentage. Whereas the regions, I believe, are at 5%, ECI is at 20. So you got to think about that first. So in that letter, it talks about them not signing contracts for funds, for contracts funded with fiscal year 24 carry forward. That made everybody crazy because everybody was thinking in terms of how the county budgets work, how everything else's budgets work. We won't see fiscal year 24 carry forward money from Troy until May or June of next year.
Right.
So we don't even have those monies in hand. What I can tell you about fiscal year 24 contracts funded with funding that we can use in fiscal year 24 is that every single one of those contracts has been executed by DHS and they have been returned. Everything is in place for fiscal year 24 as of what we cross the fiscal year with contract renewals. We are good to go with 24 right now. We have things coming that have to be done and work that must be done with the 2 of us. And I want to back up because one of the values in having DCAT and ECI at the local level is we can make things work that we need. So Troy and I have spent probably 7 going on probably 10 years building infrastructure that does many things. We have built infrastructure to develop a cadre of programs that one, Troy can use for low risk, moderate risk, and high risk offenders. We also have a cadre of services that meet multiple criminogenic needs that these individual clients have that can meet their needs here. Troy doesn't have to send a juvenile to Des Moines or Cedar Rapids specifically for a service. We have a lot of services that they can access in their homes, they can access in their offices. We have functional family therapy, which is a high level evidence-based practice that has been proven to be effective with moderate to high risk offenders that have multiple criminogenic needs, that it happens in their home. And we've been able to partner to build these systems across the entire 8th Judicial District. That is the value of having the local ability to do that work.
So with the merger, do you go under DHS, HS, and where do you go?
No, see, we actually will not be merging with anyone. We stay under the judicial branch. So the Department of Corrections is executive. Juvenile Court Services is part of the judicial branch. We will stay with them.
Okay.
DHHS is, they're realigning a number of their other
Right.
organizations underneath them. So we're lucky, we're staying right where we're at with the judicial branch.
Okay.
So when I read this, or on the red line, it said, and I'm assuming I misunderstood or something has changed since then. So youth and families will be negatively impacted if HHS declines to sign FY 24 DCAT contracts, and then lists the possible outcomes. Have they signed those
Yes.
contracts?
Our 24 contracts are signed.
Things though that, something that's very important is that's one individual speaking for all of juvenile court services across the state. So, yes, that pertains to us, but I can also speak to another district out in western Iowa where they're in a different situation with how they've previously spent money. So like with Tammy talking about our carry forward, there might be another part of the state. So he's writing that letter to the director as a huge overview for juvenile court services across the state. So for us, we're good.
So moving forward, and I'm trying to get a handle on this, but I'm obviously new on the committee or on the board. What does this look like, or we don't know? Maybe?
We don't know. So this is the piece I wanted to bring and share with you, all three of you today. So this is, these are meetings that HHS is having because DCAT falls under HHS.
Because I wanted to go to the one at 10 o'clock, but
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
I couldn't.
Yep, and I'm not going to be able to make that obviously either. But I would encourage you
Yeah.
to at least get in on one. I plan to attend both virtual meetings.
Yeah.
So, and if you can remember, and maybe you've seen the original letter that came out, the number of programs that they are looking at is huge. Huge. It ranges from the mental health regions to community action, to DCAT, to ECI, to First Five, to WIC, to maternal child health. I mean, it's just, there's probably 20 different programs, 20 different agencies on that list.
It's right here.
Yep.
Because I was going to talk about it in committee reports. So
What is going to happen is anyone's guess.
what they're going to talk about is public health, environmental health, emergency preparedness regions, local public health, delivered Medicaid services, maternal and child health, family planning, iSmile, WIC, family development and self-sufficiency program, community action agencies, integrated provider network, tobacco community partnerships, ECIs, certified community behavioral health centers, mental health delivery regions, aging and disability regional centers, area agencies on aging, DCAT, community partnership for protecting children. And this is all going to fall under the Department of Health and Human Services. And they have hired a consultant to help them figure out how to break down silos and be more efficient, hopefully.
Breakdown.
Editorial break down silos and be more efficient. That's what the letter says. So in our
Tammy,
east-
this is all
So
called
we
progress.
branch out.
exactly, because
We don't
Troy
stay
and I
around
don't
the
collaborate
side.
enough.
Right.
Troy and I collaborate
All
on
the
Sunday
time.
mornings.
Yeah.
I think it's important that I'm going to try to get on one of the Zooms because obviously I'm not going to go to Storm Lake, Waverly.
Yeah.
or Atlanta.
And the locations are very interesting. They
can't
are,
come
yes,
on.
they're
Yeah.
very, very
I know.
interesting locations. I will say that I saw that. So in our ECI directors, and I wish I'd have brought my notes for that this morning, coming back my first day of vacation, I'm not too organized apparently. So from our ECI directors meeting on like the 29th of June, they laid out the timeline, the recommendations of what they plan to do will be out in October. So having lived through lean design in ECI, which brought us the merger of Iowa County, which was by itself, and Jefferson and Keokuk, which were by itself at the time. I think there are probably things already coming together in Des Moines that we don't know of.
I'm sure.
I will share a couple of my concerns just very broadly, and Troy can jump in wherever he wants to. I am concerned for the huge amount of collaboration that already has been able to take place here and the amount of work that we have been able to do to come up with very comprehensive contracts that cover the 8th Judicial District. If we are not going to have the capacity to run juvenile court contracts through HHS under DCAT, it sure would be nice if there was a mechanism for us to run that through the juvenile court system. And yes, it would cause us problems to have 2 parallel systems, but it would also be very nice to have a mechanism to continue to do the work we're doing and continue to build on that. Because there are many evidence-based practices that are still needed to be part of Troy's service array. So that's one of my concerns, is give us a mechanism and allow juvenile court to have that carry forward, which they don't now have that ability within themselves to do, so that we have that mechanism to continue to successfully serve the youth that we have in our communities. Secondly, from ECI, we have in our 3 counties 5 childcare projects that are in their infancy or developmental phases. 5 projects. That concerns me greatly. And we all know the need for childcare isn't getting better. It isn't getting easier. It isn't getting easier for families. It's not getting easier for employers. It's not getting easier for communities. They're in their infancy. They need help.
Right.
It's not help they're going to get through any other structure, siloed or non-siloed. They need that foundation. And it is a very intensive work to get childcare projects moving. And it is work that we have done well in our 3 counties. And we have done a great job of supporting not just the additional work with our childcare projects that are center-based, but continuing to support and provide a network and a support system for our home providers, which are essential to us having a healthy childcare system. Those are my 2 big concerns.
So where I want to go with this, I've asked our legislators to get involved, and as you can see right at this particular moment, they're not. I'm not sure, I'm guessing, but from the sounds of things, the legislature's turned the rulemaking authority over to HHS. And, they pass legislation and then they give them the authority to write the administrative code. One of the things that I'd like to do, and I'm going to reach back out to our representatives, as is so often the case, and I'm preaching to the choir, and I get that, but as so often the case, it's a one spot size fit all mentality. And you just mentioned it, Troy, about somebody west of us has a different set of circumstances than what we have here. And I want to see if we can't get the legislators to look at. We went through this kind of sort of with the previous board did a great job when the state took over mental health. They eliminated the levy here completely. They didn't roll it into some other corner over there where, because nobody's property taxes going to go up, so we'll just spend. You guys didn't do that. But we got slammed as a result of what other counties may or may not have done, because they didn't take a look at each individual entity. I know I'm probably spitting into the wind, but I do think that that's the reason we have representation. And Susie or Dee, one of them mentioned about, I think it was Susie changing us to Polk County because we have more representation in Polk County than anywhere else, so they get to do what they want to do. I'm not going to drop the ball on this. I don't know that we'll get it anywhere, but I would like at the very least for the powers to not paint us all with the same brush and to look at, successes as opposed to, I'm not saying the others aren't successful. Sure. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Christmas. I would agree with that. And,
Not right now.
Troy and I have talked a couple of times, and I think there's a lot of things happening in the state
Well,
that all have connections. I mean, the mental health boards.
Yep.
And the fact that supervisors
just
no
merged.
longer can be the supermajority on those boards. And you look at the
And that's-
adult community corrections, and those were independent judicial boards for each one of those districts. And
changed
that has
now.
now been pulled completely into the Department of
So now
Corrections.
they're advisory.
Mhm.
So basically, the supervisors have much less input than we have previously. So clearly the state has something in mind, which we will need to continue to work with our legislators. I know I've talked to them about it, but I have a feeling it's higher up.
Chris, do you have something to say? I see you online.
I do. Thanks, Susie. Just so you guys know, I've participated in numerous meetings at the state level with my regional community health consultant. As far as public health regionalization, there's been some work going on behind the scenes with that. The one thing that I do want to say though, is, your local public health departments are just that. They're either funded with county money, whether you're a hospital-based health department or a county department. The thing that concerns me, and Tammy and I've had numerous conversations about different programs, whether it's ECI or DCAT or public health, whatever. The thing that concerns me though, is when the state is looking at regionalization, or quad county, tri-county, whatever it's going to look like. My concern is the state does not fund local public health departments at 100%. So I'm struggling with how is the state going to regionalize local public health departments when they don't fund us 100%. I don't work for the state. I work for the county. I understand that they could control or have input in the programs that they fund, which we already are seeing that with regionalization for preparedness or ECI or, maternal child health, WIC, all those other alphabet soups that go together. But when the state's going to be looking at regionalization, I don't think the supervisors are going to much like us being a county employee and the state telling us what to do. I'm not going to like that because who am I going to report to? And my loyalty lies within my county, within the people that fund my salary and within the people that we serve as local public health. So this is a big deal. It's been on public health's radar for a long time. So Tammy, I'm glad you brought it up. I know the meeting locations are not very user friendly. I'm going to be on one of the Zooms. I don't know which one yet, because I've already got some things scheduled. So just so you know, everybody in local public health is up in arms about this as well.
On the state website,
Thanks, Susie.
You're welcome.
there is a lot of preliminary information that if anybody does decide to Zoom, it'd be helpful to look at it. And it's on hhs.iowa.gov/service delivery alignment assessment project. And there's several files there because I did look at those and it kind of gives the background. What'll be discussed, I assume, at these meetings.
Hey, Chris, will you do me a favor? Will you tell me what day you decide to Zoom?
Yes, I will. It's like I said, it's the days I'm out of the office on that Friday attending a regional administrator meeting. So it's probably going to be the 20th would be my guess. And
Okay.
that is the day of a Board of Health meeting. And usually I try to not schedule stuff late in the day so I can finish getting stuff around, but I'm thinking it's going to be July 20th. And I think that time is, I'm not looking at that schedule, but I think it's 3 to 5, if I remember correctly.
It is, Chris.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm planning on doing. So if you guys want to come over here and watch it, we can do that too. I'm fine with that. So
Chris, I will be there.
because my board meeting starts at 6. So,
Chris, I
Okay.
will be there.
okay.
Chris. I'll be
That
there.
sounds great, Susie. Abby, do you need to put that on the supervisor agenda then? Can you please do
Yes.
that while I'm thinking of it? Thank you. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate your support.
The other thing, Dee, I think that might interest you with your work with the mental health region is listening in on some of those, the new federal grant, the new federal planning grant that they have for regions for behavioral community-based services.
Okay.
I sat in on the last one, and that's a very, very interesting conversation to hear in the context of all these other things. And it really now, I think right now it's looking at the context of all the things that are happening. And what does that tell us?
Well, I'm all for tearing down silos, but we'll have
Yeah.
to figure out what they,
But what do we reconstruct?
yeah, exactly.
You gotta do something with the grain,
With what?
the grain that's in the
Yeah.
soil.
well,
I mean, you
Tammy, ignore him those days.
huh?
Ignore him those days. Ignore him.
Ignore him? Oh, I don't
This
ignore
from
him.
the person building a casino.
Well, there we go. That'll be that extra private funding for
There
private
you
match
go.
for these childcare projects. Richland's right down the road.
Yes, it is.
I will try us to bring us together, meeting with the legislators, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's, you know, I want to hear them tell us what they know, which I know is nothing. And I don't mean that disrespectfully.
No.
I really don't think
Yeah,
most of them up there have a concept or a grasp of what this looks like.
Right, it's my perception from an ISAC's board meeting that this was pretty well cut and dried
Of course it was.
from the state.
So I appreciate you guys taking the time to come down and what I don't want it to end here. I just don't know. If we just keep making noise, then, you know, get somebody to listen.
You know, daycare is very important. Richland is right up there, 2 miles from the county line. Is it a mile? I think it would be great to have a meeting with Keokuk County as well. All of us together with all the legislators.
Well, the good time to do some of this, of course, will be, you know, in December, we always have that meeting where the legislators come in. This year it's gonna be in Fairfield.
Right. But is that, and I,
Not close
District
enough.
5 is what she's referencing, and it is, usually it's an excellent meeting. But is that too late?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Well,
because they're gonna make the decision by November, by October, the recommendation by October. It's now.
I would think we should do it in July sometime.
I'll reach
If
out
not
to
do the last one.
Wood at Keokuk County.
Yeah.
As well as the legislators. And I'll keep you guys.
Well, you see him at the next 10-15 transit
Do you
meeting.
guys possibly have a business card?
Um,
I'm sorry.
I can give you my
10,
office number. I didn't bring
Yeah,
one.
I can give you my
Sorry.
number. I don't think I have that today either.
Well, thank you.
I can get,
Yeah.
I can get your guys' numbers
Yeah,
and stuff.
okay.
I think the local
Good luck
radio
with
station wants to
Yeah,
visit with you.
thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Absolutely.
Tammy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Troy, thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
How's your daughter doing in college? She done?
She's a senior this year.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, she's got one more year, so. Keeps me on my toes, that's for sure.
I bet she does. Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
I get on my toes just to feel taller.
Platform shoes.
Oh,
There you go.
bring me some of your shoes, baby. Because you're
Here,
not,
I'm
those
gonna
are
go
not-
like this.
I would differ that. You're not allowed to wear heels anyway.
Right.
So. you don't
Okay,
need them.
moving on to focus on the meeting, make committee reports.
Well, I was gonna talk about that, you know, this meeting, so
Yeah,
cross
you
that
said.
one off. There are 2 things coming up. One's a mental health first aid training in Wellman. These are free.
A
And
mental health, repeat that, Dee.
August 10th is when it is, and it's all day. Learn to identify, understand, and respond to signs of mental illness and substance use disorders. This training provides you with the skills to reach out and provide initial support to someone and help connect them to appropriate care. These are held periodically, oftentimes in Matoma, but that one's in
You
Wellman.
have a Wellman, Iowa,
And this,
and the time,
and they are free, but you have to pre-register.
okay, the time.
I think it's like 8 to 5, yeah, 8 to 5. And the other thing is from Pathfinders, they're having on August 1st, 8 to 1:30 at Columbus Junction, a habitat workshop. And this will be managed for pollinators, quail, and deer. So
So in Columbus Junction, on the 1st of August, from 8 to 1:30, there's a pollinator
pollinator, quail and deer, learn how to manage for that. And this is from Pathfinders.
Will that teach us how to avoid them in the roadways?
Maybe.
Just thought it.
Maybe.
Drive slower.
I went out,
Especially on
stopped at my
those
recycling bin yesterday, and there was one standing there looking at me like, what are you doing here?
I saw one
Wait
this
a minute.
morning coming to town.
Yeah. Any other committee reports?
Well, we all were at the same meetings last week.
Well, I was gonna say, we
We are.
went on a wonderful road tour. Unfortunately for Dee, she didn't get to have lunch, but we had lunch in Lockridge Cafe.
I'm sure it was good.
It was good.
It was
No, I
exceptional.
had
It was
company, sorry.
exceptional.
They roll out the red carpet for you, Susie.
No, but they had a mat you could like to feet on it. So they did.
Oh, okay.
But they are always nice, and there's always a cross section of a community. And the young ladies that run that are doing a very good job. And
And they have, and I really appreciate it because she's shorter than I am. They had a very short young lady, beautiful little young lady, running the cash register and promoting the food and so on. So
she's
why
probably
not?
8 years old. She was adorable. And she did a great, no, seriously, she did a great job. And you think about kids that, what are they doing this summer? She's learning some skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's having a good time doing it. I
Yeah,
thought it was
she
really
is.
nice.
And she made some money on it too.
I'm sure- Yeah, she did.
Where are we? Claims?
Yeah, but I was trying to think of committees I have been to before we forward on the claims. I think I was at everything you had, plus some stuff for 4-H, county fair, things that are going over, how to make it better. Now we're at allowing claims and approving reports. If you've looked at them,
I have not. I would like to. Please.
one of these days, Abby's gonna shred these and put them together before we look at them.
I've seen them do that on NCIS. They put back this. the other
Correct,
stuff.
correct.
So I know it can be done. Don't know that I can do it, but I don't do that. Yeah,
It is a problem.
Did you see that one?
Yes. Yes.
And what do you do for child care?
Home daycare.
Oh,
Did Pekin ever improve their daycare, expand it?
No. because
See,
it's
the
going
Richland
into
thing is
Richland.
really good. It's really helpful.
Over the years,
I want to know if you guys dated this. but they didn't initially.
We had a change.
I didn't initially.
Even she-
Our initial in-home
Good catch.
what we have now, but they're always, whoa.
you have a person that comes every day, say,
No, I take them to her house.
oh, to her house. So how many does she have?
It just depends.
Standard answer is 6.
It's typically just my kids.
Okay. So they kind of get individual attention. Okay.
Good for them.
I spent half a day on Saturday and half a day yesterday with a 4 and a 1-year-old.
But you're tired.
I had a-
Rattled.
I don't know, the 4-year-old is very logical. You can't get nothing past it.
I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old visiting my house for a week last week.
But the 1-year-old loves to point out what a horse he is. So we got a little-
Knobs, any knob in the house was turned.
I spent my weekend fishing and swimming, so with no kids in sight. It was great.
Where were you at, Conan?
The Black River. That's Missouri. Beautiful, crystal clear water.
What I would call it a creek.
No, it's a river. It's wonderful. It's my favorite river to
Is it south of St. Louis?
No, it's technically, I think it does run partially south of St. Louis, but I think it's west about, an hour or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Did you sign this one separately? We need to sign this separately.
I don't know,
since
is
it's-
it on that report?
No,
Then probably.
We should just sign it as much as you feel like it. And yeah,
While you're signing, might as well do those.
so what do we need to do? for this vote?
They're almost done.
Okay.
please,
This is all.
What did you say?
This all one.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve, allow claims and approve reports.
do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
All right, motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.